They said the house didn't exist on any map, no coordinates, no address, not even on satellite view, and yet those who went looking for it always found it, tucked away in forgotten woods, on the edge of a place that shouldn't be, beneath a sky that seemed one shade too dark, where even birds refused to fly and compasses spun without end. The House of Eternal Night, they called it, though no one truly knew its name, and those who tried to speak it often stammered into silence or were found days later with blood pooling from their ears and tongues missing. A grim irony whispered by those who dared study its legacy, for the house had no recorded origin, no builder, no blueprints, and yet it had always been, a blackened monolith of decaying wood, gnarled iron, and impossible angles that loomed like a rotting cathedral at the center of a clearing where the sun never rose, where time hung in the air like cobwebs soaked in oil, and where every step taken toward the front door felt like walking into your own funeral. 17-year-old Kieran Vale had been obsessed with the house since childhood, ever since the night his dreams were invaded by shifting walls and ceiling eyes, by endless staircases and whispering wallpaper, by a voice that called itself throne of silence, a voice he could not unhear, that bled into waking life, that told him to come home again and again. And when he finally found the clearing, years later, armed with cameras, a flashlight, and journals full of mad scribbles, it felt not like a journey but a return, as if his entire life had been the slow walk back to something waiting just beyond the last breath of light. The front door opened without a sound, though the hinges were rusted like fossilized bone, and the moment Kieran stepped inside, the light behind him vanished, as if the house had swallowed the day whole, leaving nothing but an endless twilight that clung to his skin like damp velvet. And the air inside, it pulsed, alive, full of breaths not his own, with walls that moved subtly when not being watched, shadows that twitched and smiled, and staircases that turned upward into downward spaces, leading not to rooms but to echoes of rooms once imagined. The house was bigger than it should have been, vast beyond reason, its interior folding in upon itself like a living Mobius strip, where one corridor might stretch for miles while the next fit inside a wardrobe, and the deeper Kieran went, the more it forgot how to be a house at all. The rooms changed, some filled with furniture made of stitched skin, others with grandfather clocks that ticked in reverse, mirrors that showed him dead in a dozen different ways, and libraries where the books screamed if opened or bled if burned. It became clear quickly that time did not move inside the house, or rather, it moved only when you weren't looking, aging you from the corners of your eyes, until Kieran saw his reflection once and found white hair, missing teeth, and blood leaking from his pores, only to blink and find it gone, though the ache in his bones remained. The house was watching him, yes, but worse, it remembered him, called him son of the unopened door, and left notes written in his childhood. Handwriting that said things like, "Don't go to the third floor, she remembers you," and "You left her in the bathtub, didn't you?" Even though he had no memory of ever being there before, or of the girl with no jaw who began appearing at the edge of mirrors, humming through the slit in her throat, the rules of reality were not broken in the house, they were replaced. Overwritten by older laws, ones that punished memory, rewarded confusion, and fed on emotion like a hive of starved bees. Joy turned rancid, grief became delicious, and rage summoned storms in the wallpaper. Voices began calling to him from behind closed doors, loved ones long dead, teachers from his childhood, even his own voice, begging him not to open the black door with the silver handle, and yet the more he walked, the more he was led to it, again and again, until at last, his hand touched the handle and he felt his bones tremble as if they, too, remembered what lay beyond. The door opened not into a room, but into a void, a cathedral of stars and screams, a night sky that bent into a spiral, and at the center, the thing the house had been built to contain, or perhaps the thing that had built the house. Around itself like a shell, a god not of creation, but of perception, a being of thought that preyed on those who observed it, that grew stronger the more one tried to understand it, and it wore his mother's face, his father's hands, and the voice of every scream he had ever heard layered into a single wordless noise that split him down the center. Kieran collapsed, mind shattering into pieces that the house greedily drank, memories sucked into walls that pulsed with light, and as he crawled away, vision dimming, he saw new hallways forming behind him, new rooms growing like tumors, filled with his own dreams and nightmares, because that was the house's true nature, a living monument to thought, a reflection of those who entered, trapping them not physically but psychologically, constructing endless architecture from there. Sins, guilt, fears, and unspoken desires, until the very idea of escape became another hallway leading only to yourself. Kieran, like many before him, was absorbed, not killed, for the house didn't kill, it kept, and though his body was never found, his notebooks were, half buried in soil outside the tree line, pages torn, ink distorted, filled with drawings of floor plans that formed sigils, and warnings written in both trembling handwriting and ancient glyphs. She feeds at dusk, your name is the password, and don't let it learn your story, but it always does. Decades passed, and others came, thrill seekers, occultists, lost children, the broken-hearted, and each one was welcomed, each one added to the house's memory, until its halls swelled with infinite sorrow and hunger, stretching across plains, swallowing towns, warping reality around its ever-expanding dream. And now the house no longer waits to be found, it comes to you, appearing in the distance on long drives, in the background of childhood photographs, in dreams you swear aren't yours, its front door just slightly ajar, a whisper slipping through the crack, "Welcome back."